I want to stick with Guardiola now and get your thoughts on his future. So we're well aware that his contract's up now next summer. For some
Hmm.
time, Guardiola's remained coy on his future in the media, insisting he's yet to make a decision, yet to make his mind up. Guardiola's last two contract extensions have taken place in November, and they were agreed in Abu Dhabi. Guardiola was asked prior to the Brighton defeat, would he be travelling at all to the Middle East? And he said he has no plans to. Um, I remember speaking to you last month, Stephen, about Guardiola's future, and you suggested that he already knows basically what he wants to do, and that you wouldn't be surprised if an announcement would take place in November. Do you stick by that? Do you think an announcement could be made this month, or could it be during a hectic fixture schedule in December? Could it be in the new year, or could it be even be when a verdict's announced for regarding the 115 financial charges level at the club? When do you think it's most
That'd be
likely?
fun, wouldn't it? The day after that happened, that'd be interesting. 10-year contract. But I still deep down feel like he probably knows. I could be wrong. Who second guessing Guardiola feels like a fool's game, doesn't it? Really. Um, the mood shifts quite a lot, and your instincts change an awful lot. I do largely feel I think he's got an idea, and it does make you wonder why he's not announced it yet. For what it's worth, I really don't think for a second that um this current run of form affects him. I really do believe that. I feel like he knows. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe it's simple as that. Maybe that's the only reason it's not happened yet. Is because he doesn't know. I've seen a lot of narrative around from City fans suggesting that he probably should clear his future up soon, given everything that's going on. And I sort of get that to an extent, and it feels reactionary, but I think that's the reason why it's important because I think people do panic when you start to lose games, and I think it's fair to say that when things are going swimmingly, it doesn't matter too much, about what Guardiola's going to do. But when people start to panic a little bit, I do understand why people then look for clarity. And if you sort of feel like you're sinking, you want something to grab onto, don't you? And I think if Guardiola commits his future, and I think there's sort of a nice little positive boost, and I think it's fair to say a tiny bit, of what the problems are right now. There could be a little bit of uncertainty playing into that. I don't think it's the main cause. I think the players are relaxed either way. They're too professional to be too bothered by it. But I do probably feel at some point he's going to have to give, an answer. I'd be amazed if it goes past the new year, mainly out of respect for his colleagues. And it could be that he's waiting to speak to Hugo Viana. Guardiola did say actually a week or so ago. And to be honest, I did presume he would have spoken to him already, but he said that he's not spoken to him yet. And you'd think you'd want to speak to, the new sporting director, or director of football, sorry. And he's not had a chance to do that yet for whatever reason. Maybe this international break now is going to be a really important one. He doesn't seem to be heading to, to meet up with City's chairman or anything like that this during this international breaks, which is usually when he signs a contract. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. To sign a contract, it could take five minutes, can't it? A piece of paper can be done via a fax machine or whatever. Who knows? Um, so yeah, my gut instinct says that deep down he probably has an idea still. I just don't know what they're waiting for. No idea. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe that's the only. Maybe those Occam's razor, the most likely explanation is the one. Maybe he doesn't know yet. Maybe I don't know. But he's just it's annoying because as a City fan, I'm there like, come on, just let us know. Sort of being teased by him a little bit, and then
Yeah.
we're all deeply in love with him, but he's sort of playing hard to get a little bit at the moment, but which he's got to be right to for what it's worth. But it doesn't make it easier as City fans. I honestly do feel though it's probably harder to take outside the dressing room as a fan than it is inside because I don't think his demeanor would have changed. And but if the players don't know, I think they'll be wondering, and I think there's something in that. But time will tell. And what's your gut instinct saying, mate? Do you think he'll sign?
I hope. I mean,
I think he will personally.
reports are saying that he's leaning towards an extension, a short-term deal, a one-year deal, maybe to take him to next year. And there's also suggestions that he's more likely to stay, even if they're found guilty of these charges. So things like that give City fans a bit of optimism, a bit of hope. I think he likes the idea of possibly taking it to 10 years, a decade at City, and that'd be a nice thing as well to of Guardiola to consider. So I hope so. It's possible, of course. I think it's important for Guardiola to get it done as soon as possible. Really, I think if you look at Jurgen Klopp a year ago, he announced his decision, I think in January, if I'm right, and that sort of set up Liverpool quite well. They were well prepared.
Yeah.
They gave themselves plenty of time to find a replacement in slot. So I think it'd be good for City to maybe do a similar thing. I think you're right with talking about Hugo Viana. Be interesting to see if Guardiola has a discussion with him before making his decision or not. or even with cheeky Bagheera as well before he leaves, and just sees where the club is at, what the plans are going forward. So it'll be really interesting to see. But hopefully, from a City perspective, obviously it's announced, or we get some inkling that he's going to stay or go as soon as possible. Really, we want to
Yeah.
find out. Um, there's also the possibility, he could stay, but he also could go. And he's always expressed his desire to take on an international role in the future at some stage in his career. The reports from the Athletic last week claiming that the Brazilian Football Confederation is making a major play to try and get Guardiola on board, and that they've made several calls to him this year. Although the president of the Brazilian Football Confederation has since dismissed those, he said that, I quote, "We haven't made any kind of search for him." So it's sort of up in the air on that one. But they have consistently been linked to Brazil with a high profile name. I think they were linked with Ancelotti, who's at Real Madrid now, before as well. Can you see Guardiola taking a high profile job like Brazil, bearing, probably before the 2030 World Cup, which I think is rumoured to be something that he's interested in?
Yeah, 100%. He's come out publicly said before that he does feel the next thing for him is the next big challenge is international management. And Brazil, I don't think he go for Spain because there's the whole Catalan independence thing that he's massively behind. I think it becomes a little bit too political for him. I think he'd be tempted by Brazil because Brazil, there's such a romantic job to take. Obviously, managing Brazil internationally, there's no more glamorous job, you would argue. Difficult these days, absolutely. But I think he'd be 100% tempted by that because the football heritage of Brazil, speaks for itself. They are the most iconic international side ever. Uh, I think you would consider in a different life, maybe England, maybe after a time away from the country. And then you look around and you think, well, maybe it's from the Netherlands, something like that, with the Cruyff links or something. But I do think international football, he's going to go there and give it a go. I think he would like a run up to a competition, not just like, for example, the next World Cup's 2026. I'd be amazed if he took a job internationally that led into a World Cup with only a year to prepare for it. It doesn't seem like very Guardiola. I wouldn't be surprised if it was after a World Cup he took over a team, maybe like in 2027 or something like that, managed either Euros or a Copa America, and then led to a World Cup because that feels much more Guardiola. I don't know how he'd react to it, but there's a sort of ever increasing pragmatism from Guardiola in terms of he's much more philosophical as he gets older. You can tell he's a lot more relaxed about his work rate and he's much more drawn to his golf and all that kind of stuff. And he said he finds it easier to switch off these days in general compared to when he was younger. And I think that's just age. And I do think that sort of slightly more relaxed mentality. Don't get me wrong, he still is an intense winner. I think he just understands life a little bit more. Probably sort of seeps into international football really nicely because obviously it's nowhere near his intention. It's not day to day. A lot of it's watching football and watching players and sort of being a fan, a lot of it, until you get those obviously spells with the players. So I think that would mesh nicely with where he'd want to be in the next stage of his life. And as a City fan, as an Englishman, I would quite like it to be England. The scrutiny would be a lot, but I think by then it'd be a collection of players that would really suit Guardiola. Most of them Guardiola trained, if I'm being honest. There'd be so many City Academy graduates everywhere, who've already played with Guardiola. He'd probably pick 11 out of them if he really wanted to. But I would like to see him do well here if he did it, even Brazil, whoever. So, yeah, it'll happen. I'm not sure if it's this soon because I think, once again, he will want a run up to World Cup. But we'll just have to be patient and it's going to happen. It's going to happen almost certainly. I don't think he'll manage after City again domestically. I think it'll be England, not England, sorry, international football, England or Brazil.
Yeah, I think it was interesting is that he wants to manage at a World Cup, but he's also expressed an interest in managing at Euros as well. So that then suggests that he would be interested in managing a European nation. So the most likely possibly would be England. I mean, obviously now you've got Thomas Tuchel in charge. He's got a contract, an 18-month contract, which takes him up to the end of the 2026 World Cup. So his future will obviously depend on how successful England are at that.
Yeah.
A journalist, Guillaume Balaguer, and one of Guardiola's close friends, he recently revealed that Guardiola would be open to managing England ahead of the 2030 World Cup, but obviously that would depend on Tuchel's future and his success at the previous World Cup. So it's interesting to see if anything happens there, but obviously that's a long way away. And with the Brazil links as well, they've currently got Dorival Jr. in charge. he was appointed in January, but he's come under a little bit of pressure after he's just won 4 of his first 10 games. So that's, I think, where the links have sort of intensified and the rumours have come around about Brazil. So we'll have to see. Obviously, from City's point, they're liking to stay a little bit longer. But I think the longer his career goes on, the more likely he's going to take an international job, like you said. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there's rumours that rumble on, but it'd be interesting to see how it goes.